The Male Perspective is a place where we discuss genuine subject matters that men face on a daily basis. Welcome to The Male Perspective.
Good evening. You're listening to The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Don E. Miller, with my co-host,
Ron Robinson.
And Willie LeGrand Jr.
You gotta wait for that, Willie.
You know, they was cracking jokes when y'all saw us coming on, talking about I've been in the basement for 2 weeks, then I come back to the show with all this inspiration.
All this here bull.
You know, but I'm grateful that I'm back here in the studio. You know, the reason why I've been out because I'm in school finishing up some academic, some higher education stuff. So that's where I'm in here.
Yeah. There you go.
Tonight. You know, normally I'm out on the second or third Wednesday because I do a 4:00 class. And so it's 7:00. So you will see me always probably an hour in those particular shows. But I'm here tonight, and we got a very interesting topic tonight, man. This lady who I'm gonna bring on, you know, she's done some great stuff in the city of Sanford, Florida, and I know that I spoke with my media consultant who started a school, and this woman here has started a school years ago, a performance arts school. Patricia Ray Merritt Hitchman Watley established Tajiri Art School and Museum in 1988 as a multifaceted 501c3 organization that featured an after-school performing arts program and a cultural tour. She named the school in honor of her son, whose middle name was Tajiri Hutchinson, and Tajiri means rich in Swahili. We want to bring on our air tonight Miss Patricia Watley. How you doing?
Good evening.
Okay, we got you on. Okay. How you doing?
Great. Doing good. Thank you.
We're getting some feedback.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're gonna keep moving. I think might need to turn your radio down.
Do I?
We can hear you now.
Do you have something going on in the background?
Do you have on the background? What we got going on, Willie? Can you hear?
I try not to close to the window.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about this book you have, From the Outhouse to the Little Red Schoolhouse. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah. Well, the book is about, actually, I must confess that this book, because I want my young people to know that in spite of bad, there are some sisters that care. So the book talks about I was reared from a certain house with our house in the and this was the main street. It was on the coast of Missouri. This was the main street. And so it talks about that. And it also talks about how my mother exposed me to the cultural arts. And that's how I began to think about Tajiri. So the book takes you through my family history. It talks about the historical component, where I am the great granddaughter of Jackson and Annie Hamilton, who were survivors of the 1920 Ocoee massacre, Ocoee, Florida massacre, and they escaped to Sanford, Florida. So I give you a little background about that. And my parents my immediate family, my mother, my father, my grandparents, and my sister. And then I go into my childhood and all of the good, bad, and ugly things that occurred in my life. And hopefully it will inspire others, particularly young people, to not feel bad because they make a mistake and not to give up, to get up and continue and run the race, a successful race it can be if you do not wallow in the dirt.
Wow. Wow. Well, for me, it's interesting to see where you come from 1988 or 98. I think it's 88.
88.
From 1988 and fast forward to how long were Tajiri Arts in as a school? How long did that school stay out there?
20 years.
20 years. So
Mhm.
did that for 20 years. And I wanted to ask this question about the impact you believe the arts have on young people. How, because see today, a lot of times we don't hear arts, we hear a lot about sports, but we don't hear a lot about the performing arts.
Yes, and it's very important. If you, my theory was based on we just didn't want to dance. A lot of performing arts programs do a lot of dancing, but some of the academics are not made part of the program. And so I wanted to expose young people to a variety of the performing arts and how you can incorporate many areas in it. And sometimes like the performing arts, they may do just the dance, they may do a little piano, uh, but our performing arts company was composed of several facets. Uh, um, like we had piano, we had violin, we had the jazz dance, the ballet, the African dance, but then we incorporated sign language, mime, a foreign language. We did etiquette. I was a stickler on etiquette. It's so important to perform and have no etiquette. That's detrimental to your program. So we did our rhetorical speech was highly important to me. The Brain Bowl, where we did tutoring of math and science. So it was drama in the round, it's what I like to call it. Drama in the round, a little bit of everything. We did opera camp. I wanted to expose the children to opera. So we did opera camp. I wanted to expose the children to Shakespeare. So we had Shakespearean classes. That was important to me. Musical theater. I wanted them to also learn how to be docents, to be tour guides when we established our museum. So it was a well-rounded program. And I think that's the program that should be your performing arts program. I think should not just be one dimensional. I'll say. I think it needs to incorporate a variety of subjects.
Okay, great. Huh?
So, what happened, Patricia? Where is it now in regards to everything that you were doing? Is it still open? And if not, then why? And do you think that it, in comparative today's time and climate, is there, if not you, is there anyone that came through your program that is headed in that direction to even take it to another level if that is so needed, with, like Don mentioned, with everything focused in on sports or whatever, like where do we see the arts coming back into full fruition the way you envisioned it?
Well, the good, bad, and the good part and there's some bad part to the ending of the story. The bad part is because I had to turn the school over to my board of directors. Unfortunately, the school was not able to function as I would have liked it to be, and because of illness with my husband, we had to. Uh, I could no longer offer the services, so I turned it over to the board, and unfortunately, it did not come into fruition. There were some challenges. There were some other challenges, and unfortunately, uh, the school burned down.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so it is. But the good part that from that school, from that after school program, there are three performing arts companies from students who started at Tajiri, who
Wow.
have their own performing arts company. So the legacy does go on. And
Wow.
there are two of those organizations in Sanford, and there is one in Hampton, Virginia. And so they are really doing a fantastic job with their after school program. So that's the good. So the story does not really, just because it burned down, the legacy goes on, and I'm really proud of that.
Right. Most definitely. So now, how would you say performing arts, in what aspect, when you look at today's climate and this culture that we're in, and we see so much going on, I mean, on every level, where you had the opportunity, as if the microphone was and you have the nation's attention, what would you push with pertaining to performing arts?
Everything that I just said previously, because you see, this is the thing. Our children are very smart.
Right.
Each child is very smart. Every one of us have been given a gift. And I taught from that perspective that they are and you have to let the children know that. You have to tell them that they are creative, they are brilliant, they have to, and it may not be in performing arts, it may be science. They may be good as inventors, but every child, and that was part of what we did at Tajiri. We, every day, the affirmation was determination. That's a key word. Determination, becoming somebody through my creative, brilliant mind. Determination, becoming somebody through my creative, brilliant mind. Now, I'm not sure, I will have to say that I don't know what's happening in the performing arts program now, because I have retired some 20 plus years. But the one thing that I do see that makes my heart glad is that I'm noticing through television that there are a lot of young, gifted uh, Black children who have become authors. They are writing their little stories, even at 7 years old and 8 years old. And that's fantastic. I am proud of that. They are also becoming entrepreneurs. And we had an entrepreneurship program at our school. So that's a plus. So those two avenues, and I see them. I just saw recently a 13-year-old finished college, and
Wow.
a Black young man. So yes, all we have to do is just keep, though, every day when we see a child, we must say, oh, you are so smart, you are so handsome, and you are so brilliant, because doing that keeps them from thinking of the negative things. One of my other posture is, I like to say to the children, just because your daddy wasn't there and your mama wasn't there and you didn't have this and you didn't have that, And you don't rely on that. You don't lay and wallow in that. You don't use that as an excuse. We didn't have excuses at Tajiri. And I can say that because I came under um, some adverse circumstances. And that's why I titled the book From the Outhouse. I mean, in elementary school, I was going to an outhouse. Okay. We didn't
Right.
have inside bathroom. And so that did not cause me, though, because of that, to just lay in that and complain about it. I can't do that, and I don't have this, and don't have that. So, on the one hand, uh, I'm happy with those teachers who are teaching. We must, we must, we must. This is what I say too. Just because you may not be able to present our history in school, then we have to take it back to where we used to learn in the church.
Right.
Yeah. So we just have to move forward, and we are survivors. We are survivors. So we don't lay and worry about what we don't have. You know, everybody is, the kids are gifted, and we have to let them know that they are gifted. We can't keep giving them negative things, because we see what happens when they get that negative thing inside them. But we were constantly, even today, now I tell you what, even today, if I am walking on the street, walking down the street, and I see a parent with a child, you know, I speak to the child, and it doesn't matter the race or whatever. But I said, oh, he is so cute and handsome. I see his bright eyes. Oh, he is smart. He is brilliant. You know, I can tell that he's brilliant. And I say that to kids when I see them. So we need to do more of that. We need to tell our children more of how brilliant and creative and smart they are, because it's the truth. They are.
Right. Amen.
Wow.
Most
Uh,
definitely.
Miss Watley, I recognize I recognize what you were doing. The affirmation is something that is very critical to a lot of the kids.
Mhm.
And being that that's important, and you didn't like because they didn't have this or that parent or didn't have the other parent, that's not an excuse for not trying to excel. And it sounds, what age group did you start? What age did you start reaching them at for this liberal arts school? What age were was your focus?
3 years, 3 years old to 17.
Oh, okay. So you did catch right into formidable years to where they just like little sponges. They
Yes,
grab hold of every-
yes, yes, indeed. And those 3-year-olds are very, very smart. So
and and I noticed too, one of the things that you was alluding to quite often in what you were saying through your affirmations is that you were saying he. Would it be almost fair to say that a lot of your students were males?
Uh, we had a cross section. No, just no, no, no. We had females as well. No. Now that what I did do, uh, and I want to say this before I forget it. There is no way that Tajiri could have reached national acclaim if we did not have the cooperation of everyone. And so it wasn't just Pat Watley doing this program, it was a we program. I had an excellent board of directors. We had excellent parents. We had excellent community assistance. We had everything. The local, the district, the state, all were supportive. And it wasn't something that I did on my own. Now, to go back to what you said, one of the programs that we did incorporate, we did have a boys' glee club. And so from that boys' glee club, and there were 27 boys, and they were from various areas, because that's my theme. You know, I try to get the child who may not have an opportunity, like for instance, you know, somebody may not want to work with the child in the project. That's the child I want.
Right.
And so we had a variety, a cross section. And yes, we did the boys, but we later incorporated the girls. But starting out in the program itself, was a mixture of youngsters. It wasn't just a boys' school. It was a mixture of boys and girls from 3 to 17 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, we're getting ready to go to break, but if you hold tight, we'll be right back. Okay.
Thank you.
Broadcasting live from Atlanta while serving the entire globe. It's the fastest growing radio on the web. It's 106liveradio.com.
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks or stereotypes. Don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor. It's time to tear the paper and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make it part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Streetwise, along with Focus Forward with Robin Shockley and 106 Live Radio, is in need of your help. Girls Gifted for God is requesting beauty products, toiletries, and non-perishable food items for their donation drive. For more information, visit streetwisegeorgia.org or contact Robin Shockley for drop-off and pickup details at 864-313-4964.
Don E. Miller, licensed professional counselor, has the formula for wholeness. Encourage, empower, educate, enrich. It's called the E Effect, and it will change your life. The E Effect will empower the individual who may be mentally impaired to get involved in programs to help them live a productive life. These programs will also enrich those in need by providing education and information which promotes a high quality of life. For more information, call Don E. Miller at 678-741-5337 or visit the website at theeeffect.net.
Are you ready to elevate your connections and improve your networking skills? Here, you can take your career, brand, and organization to the next dimension. Networking with Valerie, passport for personal and professional growth. Tune in every second and fourth Saturday from 11 p.m. for our networking event. This is the place to build and maintain relationships. On 106 R&B and Throwbacks, powered by 106liveradio.com. Calling all authors. Do you want to promote your book? Get heard, get seen, make more money. Douglasville Books and 106 Live Radio is now offering promotional packages to create a better audience just for you. 770-949-4363. Douglasville Books, the people's choice.
Happy anniversary, 10 years, a wonderful station growing all over the world. Be a part, celebrate.
Hello, I'm Don E. Miller, host of The Male Perspective, live here on 106liveradio.com. Happy 10-year anniversary.
Yes, I'd like to say happy anniversary on 10 years to 106liveradio.com. Congratulations. May God continue to bless you with many more. We celebrate with you.
Congratulations.
We're in Atlanta, hitting the gas and turning all the way up on 106liveradio.com. Today's R&B and throwbacks.
We are back. You're listening to The Male Perspective here on 106 Live Radio, where excitement meets diversity 24/7. I'm your host, Don Miller, with my co-host,
Ron Robbins
and Willie LeGrand.
And we have tonight Miss Pat Watley to Jerry Arts Performing Arts School, and you're talking about a book From the Outhouse to the Little Red Schoolhouse. So that her.
That's correct.
Okay. Just trying to hear that feedback in the background. Okay. All right. We have a message from Miss Tanya Murphy that says, hello. Yes, the Jerry Arts was a very good program. My son was a part of the program for about 3 years. So Miss Murphy is watching you, Miss Watts, Miss Watley. You made an impact on a lot of young people's lives, their influence, So I want you to know that. But let's talk a little bit more about why performing arts.
Because you can get all of the skills from performing arts. Because I say to students, the minute you walk out of your house, you're on stage. Because people see you, you have to have a wonderful personality, you have to speak, you have to be kind, and everything, and you walk with everybody walks with the rhythm. So performing arts and everybody loves to sing, they really do. And the kids love to sing, they love to do drumming and all of that. If I may, let me share with you about the Boys Glee Club. When I wanted to have the Boys Glee Club, I had gone to New York to see the Harlem Boys Choir. And when I came back to Sanford, I said, oh, you know what? It would be good if we had a boys choir. Now, when we formed the choir, of course, the boys did not want to sing the songs that I had listed for them. They wanted to do the hip hop songs. And I said, no, we're not doing the hip hop songs. Not to say now, let me be clear, not to say that the hip hop, all of the hip hop music is not, demonic, for lack of a better word. There are some good lyrics, let me say. There are good lyrics in some of the hip hop songs. But for me and my team, we wanted to introduce to them maybe songs that they wouldn't be familiar, and that would be maybe patriotic songs and Negro spirituals. And those were the songs that I wanted them to do. Well, they were disgusted. They didn't want to come to rehearsals, and we had trouble with that. But I was just determined that these 27 young men were going to become gentlemen. And so we continued to work with them. And our first performance was at the Martin Luther King celebration in downtown Sanford at the Civic Center there, Mr. Miller. And we were to perform the day before. Well, we had trouble in the camp. When we went to rehearse, it did not go well. And I wanted the boys to not wear t-shirts and khakis pants. I wanted them in tuxedos. So I asked the city of Sanford if they would donate the $2,700 that we needed to get the tuxedos. And we found a company that would give us some secondhand tuxedos. And so the boys, and from shoes to everything. I wanted the cufflinks, we had the suspenders, we had the bow tie, we had the tuxedo shirt, the whole 9 yards. And that Thursday, they performed and carried on and messed up the Civic Center and all of that. When they put on those tuxedos the next day, how about when we had that evening, those young men stepped on stage, because I said you cannot walk and slouch and slide and all of that. That's unacceptable, and that you must walk on stage as a gentleman. And I want you to know, when they put on those tuxedos, because I wanted them to feel special. We have to treat our children. They are special. Everybody, every child is special. They put on those suits, and I want you to know, gentlemen, When they walked on that stage, you didn't hear a sound. Their heads were up, the shoulders were back, and they conducted a fantastic entrance debut at the Civic Center. And how about they got a standing ovation? Well, what did that do to their feeling good? How about then we got in an invitation from Disney World, from Universal, from sororities and fraternities, all of that, because I was determined, we were determined to let them know that they were special, they were creative, they were intelligent, they were smart, they were brilliant, and yes, they could sing. So,
Wow. Wow. Well, I had a chance, and I'm grateful for the opportunity I had a chance while working in Sanford to see the development of your program. And I'm just even more excited to have you on the show, watching the infant stage of it and how it grew over a period of time. And I'm just grateful to have you here and to see the book that you have. Your book is not out there right now because Ron looking at your book. He's going through your book and really excited about the work that you've done. And it's just fantastic that you've done that. Catch that I'm always trying to look at is that I was talking to Carmen Morrison, my media consultant, and she said this thing about you've done blueprint, but she said a word. She said the black print is already done, and so by you doing the print, what do men need to do to get engaged in stuff like this? What do you think? What kind of advice could you give men to follow some of the things that women are doing?
I tell you what, be encouraging. Be encouraging. If you're not the father, you're the uncle. You can be the godfather, and you can visit schools. That was another thing that I invited the men from the Sanford community to come to the schools, come to my classroom to chat with the kids. So, and you don't have to have. This is another thing. We think that we have to have a whole lot of money to do these things. Tajiri started out with zero. I started in my home because this was something that I wanted to do. So I started in my home with 10 students and it expanded to 45. Now I had to move out of the neighborhood because as the kids were bringing them after school, it was getting a little congested in the neighborhood. But that's another story. But men, and just when you're in the grocery store, prime example, if you're in the grocery store, gentlemen, and you see a young fella there, say something encouraging to him. That's what you need to do. Say something encouraging to him. You don't have to know him. Just see him and just tell him how good he looks. I mean, his shirt may be torn, his pants may be torn, but you say, look at you. I can tell you are smart in your class. I can tell that whatever the teacher brings to you, you know the answer, and most of them do. And that's what you can do. That's just a simple thing. In the grocery store, drugstore, church, just be inspirational. That's what we need more of. Don't say because they look in this and you may hear them say a curse word or something, and you said, "Oh, young man, you don't want to be cursing." And I have a story. It's in the book about my neighbors at Tajiri. And my neighbors were not maybe appropriate neighbors, you might want to say. I was bold enough to go over there, and they were having a social time in the yard. And I went over there, and it was not time for me to use my master degree language. I went over there and I said, "Hey, y'all, how y'all doing?" And I explained to them about Tajiri, and I did not want them cussing and throwing their beer bottles in the yard, that kind of thing. And I wanted them to be respectful and all of that. And they looked at me and I looked at them and I said, but I know you all going to help me. I know you're going to help me out. And they did. There was no break-in, there was no stealing, there was no broken windows. The whole time we were there, many of the neighborhood and folks in the community could not believe that nobody tried to break in, nobody, because I engaged them. And that's the thing, the engaging your neighbors, the engaging of, that helps a lot. And we were very, very fortunate and blessed. So, the performing arts will bring a community together. It did for Sanford, let me say that. Now, I'm sure there are other communities around the country where, things are happening, but for our Sanford community, and let me say, Mr. Miller, thank you so much. And for the listening audience and for the gentleman there, I must give credit to Mr. Miller, because when I tell you that Mr. Miller was so extremely helpful to Tajiri, I said a few minutes ago that we started with 10 students and then we had 45 students, and that we needed to move. We didn't have a place to move to. So we would have classes in the park. We would have classes in a gazebo. We would have classes wherever we could. And Mr. Miller, who was at that time director of the Boys and Girls Club, he offered the Boys and Girls Club. And he said, Ms. Hitchman, you can have your classes here until you can find a permanent home. And he opened those doors. He didn't charge us anything. He said that. And so it's wonderful to know that as I tell these stories, I have a witness in Mr. Don Miller. And I was just so
Well,
happy.
well, praise the Lord. I'm glad to see, it's in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, you overcome by the words of your testimony. So we thank God we're getting some positive feedback about this joker to my left. Lord have mercy. So I'm gonna have to do that research, Ms. Watley. I'm gonna have to make sure you telling us that you ain't just pumping them up, because he ain't helped me at all. I'm just playing. So listen, Miss Watley.
Yes, sir.
Through your book, and it's very. This is a book. I'd be like, yeah, it's 200 and some pages, over 300 pages, but very colorful, very well put together. A lot of photos. So let me ask you a question, just for our listening audience. You yourself, how many children you have, then grandchildren, away from your in love children and extended, bonus kids, grandkids?
You mean children who came through Tajiri that I claimed as my family?
Because you got my grandson in love. You got. I'm just looking like, okay, let me get down to the root of where the tree started at.
Okay, I gave birth to one son,
Okay.
and that was Camille Tajiri
Right.
Hitchman. Okay. But through the book, and I don't know how much I could say here on the air, but you said children in love, so those were through the husband's children in love.
Okay.
But I gave birth to one son.
Okay.
But I incorporated everybody as part of my family.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Like, and it's great because clearly you can see just from their smiles, just from their faces, that you made the impact that you make on their life. So that is excellent, because it's inspiring, because so many people, if you think about it, in our society, in our culture, we have a lot of people, male and female, that I tell people all the time, even if you don't have a biological child, that you can be a parent, a mother, father, aunt, or uncle to someone, and you can connect. The next thing you know is, because you may not have birthed that boy, that girl, that you can be what's needed in their life. Because a lot of times people don't understand God will position you and God will put you with people as a God. That's my God mom. That's my spiritual mom. That in reality, sometimes you can say that they're more impactful than my biological mother. Sometimes you have to embrace that my biological mother or biological father didn't have the capacity for what was needed. And we can understand that. And I tell people that God, in spite of you may not have biological kids. Look from what I'm seeing in this book, I'm like, man, this like she got a lot of children, or like it's a large family, you know. So that's the thing that see I represent the performing arts with the culture, I represent the Ebonic side of relating to folks, cheering. Don over here, he working on, but he got more degrees than a thermometer now, Miss Wiley. So he always knocking me for my little in education and everything. So, but I want to, I'm just saying because people are listening, and they can sit back. They know I'm real. I'm looking like, man, that's why I'm engulfed in it. I'm listening to you, but I'm like, okay, I got questions about this because this is amazing the way you put this together. And so I want to encourage people to know that it is definitely like something that is amazing. The way you have it from beginning to the end and the middle is excellent. And I appreciate the way you did it, and I appreciate the impact that you make on. It's somebody that God would use to say, okay, this person founded cancer, and they'll be like, my mom went through that Tajiri performing arts school, and so next thing you know, had Watley not created this school, Ms. Watley not sacrificed and made the impact that we made, then this person may never live, and so therefore they may never have to see the child that actually creates a cure for cancer or whatever. So that's how I like to look at it, and I'm grateful and appreciative for you allowing God to use you in that sense there. And I would like to say in the first segment, you said that it starts with the church, and I'm an advocate about eliminating Black history the way the system chooses to teach it, and completely quit depending on the system to teach our history. And now the Black churches, the Black organizations, the Black Greeks, sororities, the HBCUs, let's all come together, mentoring, training, and developmental programs that now teach our history the right way. And it's coming from us who are the seed of the ancestors that we're teaching about.
Absolutely. And if I may incorporate right here, is that when we developed our curriculum tour, the purpose to develop the curriculum tour was to highlight the African Americans who had made outstanding contribution in our city of Stanford and who reached national acclaim. Because I wanted the children, yes, they know about Sojourner Truth, and yes, and Harriet Tubman, and Dr. Martin Luther King, and they knew those people, but I wanted them to know right there in their community were African Americans who reached national acclaim. So when we developed that curriculum, we took it to the school board, and the school board sanctioned it. It gave opportunities, and the thing of it is, I wanted the kids to know that, and I also wanted them to get the experience of knowing what a museum, know something about a museum. That was the purpose of teaching them how to be docents, how to be tour guides. So when you visited Tajiri, you were greeted by a little Black girl or little Black boy who were the tour guides. And so that was important for us to make sure, and that increases their wanting to learn about their history. It's all about exposure. It's all about presenting various things to them. And if I may add, do I have enough time?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I want to add how I got into the performing arts and why I talk the way I do. When I was a little girl in elementary school, I was one naughty child. I had very bad behavior, but I liked to perform. And most of my performances were not appropriate. I was a little child who went to church during the minister's sermon, wanted to get the attention of my peers by acting like the ladies in the church while the minister is preaching. Pat Merritt Hitchman Watley would stroll down the aisle and imitate the ladies that were coming in the church while the minister is preaching on a Sunday morning down the aisle. Okay. I did that. My parents were not there. My mother and my grandmother were not there. They were home. And so since they were there, then it was my opportunity. I was put in, I had a chaperone, but the chaperone left and went to the ladies' room. And that was my time to perform. Okay, so I did that when I was in elementary school. I also talked about a young lady. She was minding her own business, and I said it's something negative in fourth grade. Well, you know what my mother did through that? Number one, I got a whipping, okay, from the fourth grade teacher. I got that. The second thing, my mom made me, this is old school now. My mom made me write 100 times what I had said about this young lady. But this is the thing that she did. She made me learn a poem called I Know Something Good About You. And if I may, I Know Something Good About You is by Louis Shaman, written in 1935. Wouldn't this old world be better if the folks we meet would say, I know something good about you, and then treat us just that way? Wouldn't it be fine and dandy if each hand clasped fond and true, carried with it this assurance, I know something good about you? Wouldn't life be lots more happy if the good that's in us all were the only thing about us that folks bothered to recall? Wouldn't life be lots more happy if we praised the good we see? For there's such a lot of goodness in the worst of you and me. Wouldn't it be nice to practice that fine way of thinking too? You know something good about me, and I know something good about you. My mother had me learn that poem. She had me recite it to every school at the beginning of the year when the teachers came back. She had me recite it all over Sanford in the churches. She even had me take it. She knew somebody at Bethune-Cookman College at that time. She had me recite one Sunday afternoon to the college kids at Bethune-Cookman. She had me recite that poem so that those words would be embedded in my learning. Aside from that, one summer, every other summer, she took me to New York City so that I could see a 23-hour ride on the Greyhound bus from Sanford, Florida to New York City so that she could expose me to Broadway plays. She could expose me to museums. She could expose me to Radio City Music Hall, to Central Park, to all of the libraries in New York. She exposed me to all that. And so if her message was, all right, little girl, since you want to be a little actress and you want to cut up and you want to do this, let me show you how professionals perform. She did that. And listen, when I was in the elementary school and she was the teacher there, how about I had to eat a pork and bean sandwich while my friends were eating peanut butter and jelly? I was so embarrassed that I had to have a pork and bean sandwich because my mother and father couldn't afford a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That hurt me, but you know what it was? It was cheaper to have the pork and bean sandwich and not have the peanut butter and jelly because she was saving the money so we could go every other summer to New York City.
Wow. We're going to take our break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Live Radio. Where excitement meets diversity. 24/7. 106 Live Radio. Yeah. Where excitement meets diversity. 24/7.
Welcome, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to talk about the 106 Live Radio platform where excitement meets diversity 24/7. Our mission to positively influence communities through broadcasting, publishing, and other forms of communication with the use of the internet. And our vision is to impact communities, help fulfill destinies, and build legacies that go beyond our local region, Atlanta, national, and global horizon. So here's a little bit about us. We're based in Atlanta. 106 Live Radio was initially established in 2013 in the city of Atlanta. It is owned and operated by its parent company, Source of Wellness Media, LLC. 106 Live Radio has made a positive impact on the lives of many individuals and businesses within our local Atlanta communities. Our radio station is your answer to promote your goods and services locally and to a global audience. Our programs include diverse music, talk shows, inspiration, and professional programs, and so much more. Weekend and weekday programs are all designed to inform, educate, and entertain our diversified listening audience. In this new era of radio, 106 Live Radio is fully equipped with the best and latest in broadcasting technology to ensure that what our listeners hear is always HD quality music. Team 106 is dedicated to bringing diverse programs, professional, on-air personalities for your listening pleasure 24/7. At 106 Live Radio, with our wealth of knowledge, experience, and passion to succeed, we strongly believe in creating networking opportunities. We invite and welcome groups, firms, organizations, associations, departments, committees, and businesses, small to corporate, to partner and advertise with us. We effortlessly assist with bringing the awareness of various important and critical information communities need in order to enhance their daily lives. Why advertise with us? This is the place where excitement meets diversity 24/7. We're local and have a national reach with over 5.6 million hits, broadcasting from Atlanta to a global audience. Social media, audio, and video marketing strategies, app and website advertising opportunities, live on-air interviews, ads, and excellent hosting. Advertise at 106liveradio.com. Let our innovative creators customize your radio ads, commercials, PSAs, and drops to represent your unique brand. A growing audience is our leverage. Your business is sure to expand locally and globally. And again, reach out to us at advertise at 106liveradio.com.
106. Yeah. 106.
And Junior here. Would you like to sponsor the Male Perspective to an international audience? Well, you can. Advertise your brand, your business, or anything that you would like to promote. It's easy. Contact us at 106liveradio.com or call 470-622-4152 and see which package is best for you. Remember, your business, no matter what size, will be advertised worldwide. When you advertise on the Male Perspective, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesdays on 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity. Remember, go and work with us on 106liveradio.com.
Let's talk about it.
Perspective. There will be guests.
Time we come back with us.
We are back. Miss Watley, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Listen, a quick question: how
Yes.
can we reach you?
Or how can people order and get your book?
From Ladero Press, LA. Oh,
I had this on the screen here. Is it www.
Ladero.
This is what I have right. This is not it from the outhouse. From the outhouse.com.
It's best to go through Ladero. LADEROPRESS.com.
Ladero Press.
LaderoPress.com. LADEROPRESS.com.
And if somebody wanted to get you to do a book signing somewhere, how could they reach you, Miss Watley?
Well, my phone number, I don't mind, is 404-201-1464.
Get that out again.
Excuse me?
Get that number out again.
Oh, 404-201-1464.
Okay. And you have your book on the something else that you got going on out there. Could you tell our audience a little bit about that before we let you go, where they could see some of the things that you've done? You got something else going on out there. Am I right?
Yes, I do. But let me say this about the book. The book, because your audience may find it a little costly. So I want to say that you not only get the book, but you get flash drives with 16 programs, because I wanted the people to, as they read the book and I tell the stories, I wanted them to see the kids to perform. I wanted them to see some of the programs that we did. So you get a USB with 16 of the programs that we've done. You also get a copy of the curriculum guide that I talk about. That's a part of your packet. And you also will receive a tote bag from Ghana. So all of this is incorporated in your package. Now, what was your other question there, Mr. Miller?
The question is, you got other things going on outside of the book. There's something else you're doing.
Okay, yes, tomorrow actually. I'm a guest songstress with my pianist, the two of us, Open Hands. We're performing at the senior facilities in Atlanta, and a church in Atlanta. A couple of churches are having us for senior luncheons. So I will be singing at that. And I want to also say in that packet, gentlemen, your host, Mr. Donald Miller, you'll get a chance to see him perform, because he performed at one of the college programs for Heritage Jubilee.
In that book, you said?
It comes along with the USB. When you get the book, you get to get a copy of that USB-C.
So Mr. Miller is singing?
Yes. Mr. Miller, as well as an actor. I had him in a play as well.
I always knew that boy. I thought I saw him on 5 Heartbeats one time.
You see what I deal with, Miss Watley. They don't know who they have in the studio. They don't know who they have. They don't know.
I want to sit back and be like, how we know you can sing? Won't you sing something?
You definitely see him.
See, you know, hey,
will we be applauding or crying?
I just want to recite this little poem before we get off, though. I know I got 2 seconds, right?
Go ahead and recite the poem.
Okay, thank you. The poem is called Determination. It's by Abina Walker. And it says, this is what we say to the children every day, along with our other affirmation. Whatever you want to be, you will be it. Whatever you want to see, you will see it. Whatever you want to say, you will certainly find a way. Whatever you want to be, you will be. Whatever you have to create, you will create it. Whatever you have to relate, you will relate it. Whatever you have to find, you will use your brilliant mind. Whatever you want to be, you will be. Whatever I want to be, I will be it. Whatever I'm inspired to do will benefit me and you. Whatever I want to be, I will be. All right, all right, all right.
Thank you, Ms. Watley. I appreciate you. We salute you. Thanks for
Thank
blessing our show tonight. Thank you for all what you've done for children in Sanford. I'm sure we talked about legacy a couple of weeks ago, and we know that you've left a legacy in the earth, not only in Sanford, but across the country. And again, I appreciate meeting you those years back then and even now. So thank you for your investment in me.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the invitation, and I thank you so very, very much. I love you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
The privilege conversing with you and meeting you.
All right. We're going to take another break. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Male Perspective on 106liveradio.com.
Happening now on The Male Perspective, there will be guests that will bring you tons of useful information. Also, talking about what's on your mind. Call in at 404-464-8785. The Male Perspective, broadcasting on Wednesdays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7. And now, here is your host, Don Miller, co-host Willie Grant Jr., with Ron Robinson, 106liveradio.com.
We are back. Again, you're listening to The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Don E. Miller, with my co-host,
Ron Robinson.
Mr. Willie LeGrand Jr.
Man, I can't sleep over there, man.
I don't know what's wrong with
What's
him.
going on with
Hey, it's
Willie?
been a great day. We are talking about
being the change.
Being the change. And Miss Watley a few minutes ago talked about the change that she saw she wanted to make something different happen. And she was that change that we talk about a lot here on The Male Perspective. And we're going to continue that same process right now. We're talking about the change.
Well,
and Don, go ahead. I hear you. I see you want to say something.
No, man, go ahead on. Finish your statement, man, before I jump on in.
You on?
Oh, I'm on? Okay. Well, we always talking about change, man. I had a quote that I came up with a couple of years ago, said change is a painful process, but it's necessary for growth. And then, the reality is, in order to grow, you must be willing to change. Change doesn't happen unless you're willing to change. Growth doesn't happen unless you change. And when we talk about what Miss Watley has done, and we have her book out there, From the Outhouse to the Little Red Schoolhouse, I'm sure it was hard for that change to take place. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure there was some rejection. And I remember some of those fights that she had there in that community and pulling that program together. Even when I came over to that Sanford area, taking over a program that had some things happen, and change was so important. And everybody don't embrace change, man. Everybody don't embrace change. And I think sometimes we don't embrace change because we don't know what that change is really about in the end result of that change. And that end result of that change may mean we got to be a little bit more accountable. We got to be a little bit more resourceful. We got to be a little bit more intentional about what we want that change to look like. And I think we struggle with that. Even in today's society, when we start talking about change, a lot of us stay the same way. And we stay in that same way of thinking, and we can't move forward. And we asked ourselves, why can't I move forward? Because you're not willing to change. That's part of the problem.
Right. See, so willing to change. So we bring up a lot of issues, especially like in our communities. We bring up issues in the church. We bring up issues in the educational arena, all these arenas. I was talking with a close friend of mine today, and we were speaking about just like, for instance, change it within the church. So, the economics, all of this stuff. We mentioned it, and Dr. Umar Johnson mentioned something about he has a little snippet that goes out, and he said, see, one thing about it is, regardless of anybody that may have different beliefs, different opinions, or whatever, if you say something that's truth, then that's truth. If an atheist say that's a light bulb, it don't matter what they believe in as far as their religion. That's truth. That's a light bulb. So he mentioned about Black churches economically, the money that comes in that goes into white banks. Then he mentioned about white banks loan white contractors and white businessmen. They loan them that money to build developments and everything that pushes the Black people out. So it's like, at what point in time does the Black church solicit that we're going to now put our monies into one or two Black banks? That's a change that a conversation that needs to take place. At the same time, if the church has to do that, then Black people, we have to say, we want to come and now put our money in Black banks and be the change that we want to see. But the question is, we complain about something, but do we really want to see change in that area? Like, the way we do church and the way that we've done church for the last, let's just say, 50 years, do we want to see change? We'll complain about something, but do we want to change the way we do worship service? Do we want to actually sit down and now expand beyond just an hour and a half? Because pastors struggle across the board of accommodating people. People sit back and be like, man, you know what? I can't go there. That parking lot is too crazy for me. I mean, they ain't got nowhere for me to drop my child off. So pastors are constantly trying to figure out how to appease the parishioners of people. We have to want to know, do we really want change, or do we just talk about it more so than actually acting on it and doing something about it?
Well, when change happens, there's an accountability with it. There's accountability and responsibility to change. And sometimes we don't want to be accountable,
right,
or responsible. So we'll talk about a change, but we won't engage in a change. Will, I seem like it's something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, Ron was just talking about change, about the pastor trying to satisfy the parishioners. I think what the main thing is the changes that we need to make as far as that is concerned, since you mentioned the church, is that I think what needs to be done, is that I know we're going to have to make accommodations no matter what we do, but the focus is, if the minister, if the pastor, who's ever there is teaching, if they would bring forth the true word of God, which is going to bring conviction, change is going to occur, because people are going to hear how they're living based upon what the word of God says. And if they want to change, they will do that then, because what's going to happen is they're going to say, you know what, am I really living like this? Is my life really this twisted up? Am I really disappointing God? And they would take their focus, the pastor would begin to take his focus off of worrying about a parking spot, worrying about Sister Sue being able to sit in the second row, worried about brother Deacon Bob being able to be the head deacon. Everybody's focus will become different because they see that something different needs to be done. And if change doesn't occur, nothing is ever going to happen. As you mentioned, Don, change does bring about pain. If it's a true conviction, if that's something that you want to do. If you're just doing something for the temporary, forget it, because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to you, and it doesn't mean anything to the people that you're trying to impress, because that's what's happening.
But we're looking at change. I mean, think about it.
Well, let me
you find young people with cell phones because we've pushed the dime, or we push the meter to say everybody need a phone. Everybody don't need no phone, man.
Well, the phone, I think one of the advantages of the cell phone for most people is that it's become a babysitter. So it's babysitting people now. That's taking the responsibility for the person that needs to change and be a parent to where they have to be responsible and be a parent. They don't have to, because the technology allows them that ease. And one thing too that you also mentioned, I want to touch back on. You mentioned the black banks. We had a Citizens Trust Bank here, which was the largest black-owned bank here in Georgia. What was happening is that a lot of people, there were some people that was taking their monies to the black banks, and then they felt that they wasn't getting the same perks or advantages that the other banks was giving them. So they began to take their money out because they felt that they should obtain favor. They felt that they should be given this and given that for them having their money in this particular bank. Now you go to the other banks, you're not asking for the same thing. You take what you're given. And it's kind of sad to say, because you're expecting something from this group of people, but yet you accepting something from the other group of people.
Now, Willie, there may have been one but I actually have two prominent two business men. I'm talking about, like, one is a commercial lender, one is a marketing guru. There was a time where actually you got to back to change. It was said that CTB didn't want to really, like, once they tapped out, like, they wasn't interested in a certain level of growth. And so now you got to stop to think that if I'm sitting back seeing that you're limiting your resources, see, that's the thing there. Like, if you choose as a whole to not go above this, then you can't expect me, if I'm interested in growth, you can't expect me just to stay there and deal with the mediocrity that you want to actually solicit and push.
Not. No.
So all I'm saying is, we're talking about change and wanting to grow entities. It's just like, for instance, when the whole George Floyd, everything went down, and now we start seeing racial injustice, and we got this whole movement, COVID going on. Here's the thing about it. Support black businesses, support black businesses, support black businesses. Black businesses have to ask themselves, are they willing to do what's necessary for that influx, for that's going to come if we actually push for everybody to support? If we actually push and you say, you know what, we have a black grocery store owned, here's the thing about it. People are going to gauge whether the quality of the meat is there, what all of this and that. And so many times we want to push the agenda, but we have to be ready for change in growth. If I'm in this market, I have to be ready for that change, for that influx. If Don's going to support and market my business, and he's going to send people there, if you already know that's not good business, we got to wait too long. So we don't have, in this day and time, we don't have patience for change,
and we can't afford to keep messing up.
Right.
That's the other side of it, because a lot of times, as a black business owner, I'm a black business owner.
Right.
I cater to everybody. I'm not looking for just the black dollar. I'm looking for every dollar. Now, the reality is, am I ready for everybody? Am I putting myself in position to be a therapist that's going to be on time, that's going to be able to get appointments, that's going to give you good service? Now, I'm not saying a white therapist is better than me. We got the same degree. We doing the same thing. But I have to make sure I'm putting myself in a position to do good business.
Right.
And that's the catch. I believe we just got to do good business. And if we do good business versus business, then we should stay in business.
Right.
If we do good business.
And
so we done made ourselves, or we sometimes go along with the myths that's been saying about black business. They don't open up on time. That shouldn't be true. They overcharge. That shouldn't be true. We should be able to compete at every level. But if we got a Chinese restaurant in the black community with the same food you get from a black restaurant and it's cheaper, who you think people gonna go to? They're gonna go to the person who sells good food, but it's cheap, versus the guy who's paying $15, $20 for a meal and they get a meal cheaper. And it's the same meal. So the point of it is, we gotta provide quality work.
Now,
That's all.
now here's the thing about it. So, for instance, you got to sit back. If I sit back and evaluate, and I'm seeing that you getting your product, your meat from a low budget supplier, one that we kind of question. You know, he getting them chickens that they've been in a fight the whole time on the truck. You know, like that
Urban Radio.
you know, like you sit back and everything. I pick up a pack of wings and half of them blue, like you know, all bruised up. Like who been kicking these chickens? Straight slamming these chickens against the wall or something.
Right.
So now you can't expect me. Now I'm coming with whether it's Tyson or you know whoever. I make a deal with a local farmer where he's growing these here. Is no, you know, he's not putting no chemicals in them, and now he's processing them, and I get them straight from him. That if I'm providing this quality of meat, now if this chicken costs me $15 versus, you know, I'm going over there to, you know, over there beat them up round after round, chicken born today and killed a week later, you know. That quality there, you have to understand, and most people are not interested in that because all they saw was $3.99, all you can eat.
You're on point.
You see,
because it's quality over quantity. And sometimes we focus on the quantity and not the quality.
Exactly. So I say that to say, but there is a market for you with quality. There is a market. You just have to, like, for instance, black business owner, myself. I'm at the point now. Now, back in the day, in the beginning, first 5 years of being in business, I'll go 45 miles or 50 miles and fighting in Atlanta traffic just for $150 or whatever. But now I don't have to do that. And it's not, and I trip out on the people that be like, man, I was trying to put some business in your pocket and everything. Okay, tell me what you had to do. All right, that was gonna run you, for me, that was gonna run you $250 to $250. Oh man, that's too high, Ron. Well then, okay, so how you trying to give me some business then? So you want people think, like, people try to gauge what they don't do on it shouldn't take all that, but they don't do what we do. Exactly. They don't understand. So you have to be consistent, and if you be consistent, then you're gonna make the changes, the ebbs and flows. You're gonna grow because there's a market. There's a people that, once again, God can blow on your wind sails, and all of a sudden you got an influx that people want what you do at your price.
They do. I give you a perfect example today, and I say this on the back of my book that says, God will show up when you're not even looking for him. This actually happened before I came to the studio tonight. I was leaving my office, and I was rushing to get here, and a young lady came in, and she said, do you know where the suite 311 is? And it was another suite down the hallway from me. So I took her there, and the person wasn't there. And so as we walked back, as I was getting back on the elevator to come to the show, I said, hey, are you looking for a therapist? She said, yeah, I'm looking for a therapist. I told her I was a therapist, and we got into a dialogue a little bit and ended up, you know, giving her my information, and they talking about using me as a therapist to help them. But the catch was I almost missed God because I was rushing. And when I waited and did what I had to do, that was business coming to me. I didn't look for that. I wasn't running after it, but it showed up. It showed up. And my point of it is, God will show up when you're not even looking for him. But if you're doing quality business, people will come. I've always said this before, and I'm going to say it again. There's 4 types of people. There's a group of people that's not going to show up to your business no matter what you do. There's a group of people that will show up. There's a group of people considering showing up. And there's a group of people waiting to show up. If you do quality work, it's going to come. You ain't got to second guess yourself. You don't have to lowball yourself. Do the right work. Do quality work, and quantity will follow quality. You see it every day. Certain people that go buy certain cars because they want quality. You go in the Lexus dealership, you ain't got no money, they ain't looking for you. They don't care about you. They're looking for the person who's going to consider buying that car or going to buy that car or been waiting on that car. And they ain't changing their prices.
Right.
So your business will work if you work it. So don't start cutting yourself short. You know, do the work. Do the work. Do quality work, and people will come. Not just black folks. People with money. Because, see, white folks don't care about what color you are. They care about one color, green.
Green. And that's the thing about it, quality. And so it's just the fact that you got to be consistent. You got to sit back, but you got to start where you are. You got to be open to realizing that change can take place. You have to be willing to say, are we making steps moving forward progressively? Are we day by day, each and every day, one day at a time? You know, all of that stuff. You know, one day at a time is something they teach in drug and alcohol rehab. You know, one day at a time, one step at a time, moving forward, making progress. You have to be able to understand and embrace. And if you keep speaking, if you keep doing it, you're going to attract. You got the laws of attraction, the laws of reciprocation. All of these things here play a part in us making changes, us going forward, us doing what's necessary, and being the change that we actually want to see. So you listen to 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7. We are the Male Perspective. We'll be right back.
Yes, sir. Oh, baby, even miss around. I said you look so good, you look so fine.
Broadcasting live from Atlanta while serving the entire globe. It's the fastest growing radio on the web. It's 106liveradio.com.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, is so common that it's likely you know at least one person with this functional disorder. Some IBS facts are 13 to 20% of individuals, approximately 5 to 7.5 million individuals, are living with IBS. People of all ages have IBS, from young children to the elderly. The economic burden of IBS is $6.5 billion annually. Individuals with IBS miss on average 13 days of work per year, leading to a further $8 billion in lost productivity. The primary symptoms are what we call the ABCDs of IBS: abdominal pain, bloating, constipation, and diarrhea. Symptoms can come and go, so you might feel well for a while only to get symptoms again. For more information, please visit badgut.org.
Self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
The Male Perspective is partially or in part sponsored by Contact Electrical Services, LLC, servicing all your residential and commercial electrical needs throughout the metro Atlanta area. And remember that without Contact, you don't have power. Give us a call at 678-698-1101. Reach out to Contact Electrical Services today.
3 powerful words with the same letters, now, own, and one, could change your daily life, business, or ministry. Will you go for it and win 3 in a row? Tic-Tac-Toe of Life, the Now, Own, and One Anointing is an inspiring new book by evangelist Dr. Curtis Minter that can help you understand the vision, passion, faith, and attitude necessary to fulfill your destiny that God purposed you to have. Available at Amazon, your local bookstore, or at Trilogy.tv.
Do you need a written game plan for your marriage? Here, you will be empowered to shed some of the heavy weight from the past. These practical tools can be implemented today. Start pursuing intimacy, effective communication, and be the interdependent mate you were designed to be. Are you ready to be vulnerable and transparent with your spouse? You will be challenged to take your relationship into the next dimension of perpetual growth. Check out Mr. and Mrs. Epic Journal, After I Say I Do, written by Drs. Jason and Tanasha Gray.
We are broadcasting live from our Atlanta studio, 106liveradio.com.
We're back. You listening to The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Don E. Miller, with my co-host,
Ron Robinson.
And Mr. Willie LeGrand Jr.
Why you try to act like you going to dinner with somebody, like you asking them out? This is Willie LeGrand Jr.
You know, baby, what's happening?
I just wanted to just let you know, can we go out tonight? Get some music in the background. Only for one. Go ahead on, Willie LeGrand. Go ahead on, Willie LeGrand Jr. We're talking about being the change. You can give us a call at 404-464-8785. That's 404-464-8785. And we also want you to check out the book from Miss Pat Watley, who was on earlier tonight, From the Outhouse to the Little Red Schoolhouse. You can order her book by going to www.LADEROPRESS LeonardoPress.com.
You just gonna mess that name up.
Or whatever. www.LADEROPRESS.com.
So it's on the screen like Willie say. But listen, so the change. So
Not
notice
Lil Darryl, but Lil Darryl.
even notice the change when we're talking about making a change. Everybody has the ability to make a change. It's a matter of, do you want to make the change? Everybody complains about things that needs to take place. So are we willing to make the change? Like, I think away from, like we talked about earlier, banking in the last segment, we talked about that there with banking and just the black dollar. Like, who's going to direct us? Who's going to come in, undergird even the people in that arena that we can have now effective black banks? But at the same time, like you said, I think Willie, talking about numbers, this was like back in 98. $5 billion plus dollars were deposited every week into the banking systems in America. And that was that. So we already know that's astronomically higher. Imagine if all that money went into a black bank. $5 billion, that was in 98. We can do the math. So that's 52 weeks. That was collectively just from black churches in America. Those were the numbers. Those were the statistics. So we have to be willing. But here's the thing about it with freedom, because I don't know if we were talking about it here or maybe somebody else I was having a dialogue, but the change that we really need to see for us to be that people that walk in it, it's going to take a couple of generations of some type of dictatorship. So to kind of get it back balanced to where we actually now we recognize how powerful we are. But when you have freedom and you tell people you can do or be whatever you want to be, then the only reason why, like you mentioned about the phones or whatever, if whatever the government pushes, then it seems like we just fall in line.
Oh yeah. We just go along with it, man. If they say fly, we'll be trying to fly. If they say, no, really, because we follow what they do. We follow what they do, but we don't want to leave.
Right.
We don't want to leave. Everything we've done, we've given up. When you listen to music sometimes, you remember there was a time you knew a black artist. You knew that person was black singing.
Right.
You knew it. Today, you don't know who it is singing, man. You don't, because stuff that we used to have that was ours, we gave it away.
Right.
Because we wanted to cross over. We wanted to be a part of the mainstream. So a lot of stuff we've done, we don't have no more. We don't. BET one time was owned by some other folks. I mean, Tyler has it now, but look how long that went.
So
look what has happened. But my point of it is that most of the stuff we create, we give away. We give away. We lead in so much. People, one thing about that whole slave mentality mindset is that they know about us. We don't understand them. They know if they put certain things before us, that whole Willie Lynch piece, they know we ascribe to it. We ascribe to it. And so therefore we keep being apart. That's how they get us, because we spread apart. They know how to divide us. They divide every minority based on the dominant culture decision making. They will
But see,
divide, and that's how they do it. So if they can divide you, that means anything that you create, if one of us say, well, I want to give it to somebody else, but instead of us coming together, so that conquer and divide continues to work.
but see, let's go back. You mentioned the Willie Lynch letter. So look at, once again, that was a bold statement and a powerful statement that man said. When he starts it off, he says, I have devised, if implemented correctly, I have devised a way to control the mind of the Negro slave for 300 upwards to 1,000 years. So notice that governmental systems, leaders take that model and they just slowly but surely keep.
In every aspect of it, Ron, systemic racial disparities in healthcare, systemic racial disparities in mental health, systemic racial disparity in law enforcement. It's there. It's systemic.
Right.
So that means it's a system in place,
right,
to keep it that way.
And
we got to stay out of the system and do better outside of the system.
And here's the thing about it. Even if you look at it, like you say, in injustices, and just look at the way they police, right? I tell people all the time, because once again, I do training with a team of officers, and proper interaction with police officers and all of that. Here's the thing. You're not about to tell me that these educated mayors, police commissioners, lieutenants, sergeants, Willie, when they watch a video and they're watching the actions of the way white officers are dealing with this guy, this black guy, versus the way they did. You're watching these videos. You're not about to sit and tell me that you're not promoting this, that you're not sitting back and saying, like, as if, wait up, so 12 of y'all had to show up for that one black guy? Like, oh, what, you're using that as if, see, this is how we got to handle them. Or at the same time, back to Willie Lynch saying, beat him almost to death in front of his wife and his pregnant wife, and she will raise her seed to fear us. So it's a tactic there. You're not about to tell me that we have all this intelligence, we have all this education, and you're talking about for the people and for the rights of the citizens, but it's like you got all those white guys like team up with black and white to patrol the hood, to go into the ghetto, and you can't, because if you're not familiar with our upbringing, here's the thing about it. They allow an officer to interpret the way what they deem as a threat. So we as blacks talk with our hands. You mean to tell me there's white officers still haven't embraced that yet? So now you mean to tell me that the grand jury and everybody's going to say, well, your hands, put your hand, I need to see your hands. Bro, what you doing, bro? I'm trying to get to work. What you doing? So how is this a threat to you if this is our lingo? And so some way, somehow, if police commissioners and mayors and everybody, what is being said in the meetings, in the closed door meetings? What's the agenda? Because no matter what, this is the fact that this is about us. This is who we are. Now, how you going to sit and create laws to say, I can give my officer permission to interpret that if he feels that's a threat, he can use one of these 5 tactics?
Well, you got to have cultural competence. That's one of the things that when you see things happen, is it cultural competence or is cultural incompetence? Because a lot of times people are not competent about the culture. They don't understand you, me, sometimes. They don't. Even in therapy. People don't understand the culture. And every culture deal with things differently. And so if you have an officer that's going on stereotypical stuff versus being really understanding the culture, you're going to make some mistakes.
So here's the thing about it. I will sit back and say, okay, because we know we got to look at evaluating. When you mention stereotypical and understanding culture, when you listen to majority of whites, just say we're going to a black church, they all going to say the same thing. They all know, oh, a black church? Oh, yeah, it's going to be live in there. It's almost like, so they understand culture, because in America it's first black and white. So we understand, we have too many white comedians that talk about black church and black culture, and too many black comedians that talk about white culture. So people understand it. It's now a choice.
That's
It's
an aspect of our culture, but that's not the total culture.
right, exactly. So here's the thing about it. They know me. They know we're animated. They know we got drama come with us as far as interpretation or whatever. So, and here's the other thing about it. I can understand if it's Mayberry or it's something like that where there's no blacks here, so no white officers can learn from blacks. But majority of the precincts and everything, majority of jurisdictions is black and white. So you're interacting with blacks on a daily basis. You're listening to stand-up comedians all of the time. I listen to all cultures of comedians. So stand up, listen to what they say, all of this and that. So it's there. It's just the narrative, though. It's just the narrative. Just like, for instance, when the defund the police, when whites hear defund the police, they immediately think negative, or is it such, this, and that, but not really asking what's the true meaning of defund the police. Is basically changing, doing something different with the money. It's now enhancing and increasing funding for the purposes of training to handle mentally ill people versus shooting them or tasering them. It's giving your officers to become better equipped to train to know how to handle situations. So, but they're not open to that. They immediately want to use that because it's something about the shield, the blue, all of this and that. And this is the thing I tell when I have dialogue, and this is the thing. Before they hoodwinked us, before they bamboozled us, they had to get y'all first. So if you really think about it, if you listen to majority of whites, middle class, let's just take middle class, they'll all admit the government is full of bull. The government is screwing us. They yada yada this and that. They all complaining. They are complaining about nobody like the taxes they paying. They feel they getting got. They just glad that guess what? They ain't getting us as rough as y'all. I didn't listen to white guys say, Ron, I done been arrested 12 times, but I ain't getting the sentences that they giving them brothers in court.
Represent 13%, man. That's 13%. That's what we represent in America.
Right.
13%.
Now,
so how we doing all the crime?
Right. Not only, but
13%.
But here's the thing about it. Do you know, Willie, I think we talked about this before, that a lot of blacks didn't know that whites is more poor whites than blacks.
Oh, yeah, man. You got more people.
But because here's the thing about it. They never show that on TV.
They don't.
You know, that's the thing right there. You only see what they want or people want you to see.
But not
you
what you
only
really know.
You only know what people tell you.
Exactly.
Now you're talking about the disparities of people being arrested, being beat, watching these videos about how to handle this particular situation. This is not their first rodeo. This is not the first time they've been out on the beat. It may be the first time they beat somebody, but it's not their first time being out on the beat. Everything that's done, the shield or whatever, people make a choice of how they're going to handle a particular situation in their minds on their way to a call.
Right.
A lot of them probably say, you know what, if this person is acting irate, I'm going to shoot. Not I'm going to tase, but I'm going to shoot. And even us sometimes when we're watching a video or we hear something that has happened and the person lives, what's the first thing we say? We know he wasn't. If he lives, we know he wasn't black.
Right.
If he lives. And that's the sad thing about it. Why does it have to always be black and white? But that's the way that this society handles things.
So Willie, let me add to what you're saying.
Sure, go ahead.
Here's the thing about it. I've watched situations where my dad is retired lieutenant of sheriff's office. So I grew up in law enforcement. I grew up watching the ins and outs, and I grew up in Louisiana. So it wasn't no other race but black or white. So that's the thing there. Here's the thing. I've listened to good white brothers actually say how they're harassed and ridiculed by white officers because they didn't shoot. So they handled the situation, de-escalated, which that's the first training. When an officer pulls up, how do we de-escalate? Mm-hmm. And de-escalation may actually cause me to grab you and pull you away, put you on the ground, sir, I'm putting cuffs on you for your safety and my safety. That because it's heated. And he de-escalated the situation, and he gets ridiculed and almost reprimanded because the white officers feel, and here's the thing, you ain't one of us. How you know, all of that. You what? I wouldn't even give him a second. The moment he didn't put it down,
That's being the change, man.
you see?
That's being the
And
change.
and so now I just say that to say, here's the other thing, that's something that people don't stop to think about. Because I listen to white officers. I listen to those that man, they just really just trying to get home to their family. They just I've been here, I got 27 years in. I'm trying to just get to my, certain mark, such as got plans, good guys. But here's the thing about it. Listen to their stories about their brother, their fellow brother, boy in blue, who could have made another decision, killed an innocent, unarmed black man, and what his kids are going through. See, people don't stop to think what effects, and later on, you have to stop to think that your kids can't really go to that school no more. Your sons and daughters, the persecution that come because your dad is on TV for killing an unarmed, innocent black man. And now that ridicule that comes, and next thing you know is that officer and start seeing that the drinking increases and the pain in that, what's going through their head. Because it happens even with those that were justified in their killing. That was justified in the fact that this man was killing, shooting folks, or whatever. I had to drop on him. I had to take him out because he already shot 3 folks. So they're justified, and that person is going through mental, psychological trauma, and their families are experiencing this. And you're gonna have the audacity to sit as if you're gonna justify this here. And now you're not thinking as the Mr. Police Commissioner, Mr. Sergeant, Mr. Sergeant of the Watch, Chief of the Watch, Police Chief, Sheriff, that you're sitting back, and if you're condoning this type of behavior, but are you thinking of the lives of the little boys and girls who actually have to live with that man or that woman that did that, and the ramifications and the trauma that comes behind that?
Oh yeah. That's a piece we're gonna talk about in a couple of weeks. I got a psychologist that I'm gonna bring on. We're gonna talk about trauma.
We can't have another one of you, like 2 of y'all.
We gotta talk
Oh
about
yeah,
trauma. Because we trauma is so major, man.
right.
And you seeing it in the world today. I was doing anger management with a guy, and the guy said to me, he said, "No, everybody need anger management." I said, "You're right. The world need anger management. The world is in trauma, man. When you seeing what's happening in the Jewish community right now, it's trauma, man. Just watching it is trauma. You ain't even got to be there.
Yeah.
It's trauma." And so we talking about trauma on all different levels. But when we talking about change, that's part of getting past the trauma, is getting to a place of change. But you first got to deal with it. And what happens a lot of times when we talk about being the change, you got to first say the need for the change. There's a need to change. There's a need to do something different. I stopped trying to use the word want a lot of times. I try to replace want with need, because want always is just about desire. It's good to have the desire, but the follow through is when you recognize that desire is a really need. And I said it before, and I say it again. A want could always disguise itself as a need, but a need would never disguise itself as a want. We may want to do something, and that want would be such a thing to where we're doing a want, but it's really not a need. We got to get to the place to where we really recognize what we really need to do as African Americans or Black, or all the different terms we call, but a group of people, because other folks do exactly what they need to do. They don't sit back telling what we want to do. We want to do this. No, they need to do it. Just like Ms. Wiley earlier on our program. She could have said, "Well, I want to open the school." She said, "No, I need to open the school. I need to do this because it ain't about me. It's bigger than me. It's about that legacy, and it's about us as a group of people. What is our legacy? What are we doing every day to make it better? Not so much for me, but for the next group."
But see, it's gonna take. I had this dialogue, and so we have to want to make the sacrifices, not just for me, my four, and no more, but we have to want to make the sacrifices. If it starts with economic empowerment, if it starts with financial literacy, we have to come to a consensus that we will not exceed this much as far as a lifestyle. We can make all the money and then show that we walking in a plan for legacy, but at the same time, what percentage is going toward the cost? What percentage of, so if I sit back and tell you to buy my book, if I tell you buy my shoe, I gotta buy my shirt, I got my own brand, I gotta be able to show and give an account to my people and the community that 1% of all sales go towards Boys and Girls Club or goes towards her school. That way people see it. I'm not just talking about it, I'm being about it. And we have to want to actually see ourselves going in that direction. And that's going to require sacrifice. That's going to require a level of unselfishness. That's going to require a level of saying, I'm thinking beyond just, yes, it's good to focus on legacy. It's good to focus on your kids and get your house in order. But now at the same time, at some point in time, what percentage of whatever you're bringing in, all of the money from CD sales, book sales, ticket sales, is going toward something in our community that is for us to make generations better with your seed, my seed, grandkids, all of this stuff here. We have to be willing to say we're going to take it to that level versus, man, bump that. And I know we're going to talk about trauma or whatever, but Don, would you agree that majority of men, the average man is just trying to not hurt nobody, just trying to make it through the day and get home. And I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't go off. I didn't lose my mind.
Oh, yeah. I believe a majority of us just trying to survive, man.
Right. So we got to take a quick break, but you listen to 106liveradio.com where excitement meets diversity 24/7. We are the Male Perspective. We'll be right back.
Download the 106 Live Radio app. Click on the headphone and choose 106 Inspiration. Your time of refreshing has come.
Hi, this is Sean. I'm inviting you to join us every first and third Sunday for in-depth conversations about the Word of God. So join me on Life Talks with Gabby and Friends.
This is Miss Kay from La Centro de Ridicuroso Show. Tune in on September 11th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., where we reveal the misconceptions of the community, culture, finance, health, history, and relationships. Chime in on the Resource Hub. This is a spiritual declaration brought to you by Life Talks with Gabby and Friends. James 2-4 says, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Today, we want to encourage you to continue on your journey, knowing that whatever trials that you may be facing right now, that they're not forever, and God is sure to complete all his good and perfect work in you. So, body of Christ, endure and fight the good fight. Life Talks with Gabby and Friends. National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month is here, and for the last 15 years, our society has worked to raise awareness to the trauma of suicides happening daily every year. Suicides are the 10th leading cause of deaths among adults in the U.S. and the second leading cause of deaths among people aged 10 to 24, and these rates are increasing. Do you know someone struggling with invasive thoughts? Asking for help is a sign of strength. Dial 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 24/7, where a trained crisis counselor can assist. We're rooting for you.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment.
We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
This is Evangelist Curtis Mentor with Power in Names, broadcasting 4 to 5 p.m. on every Sunday here on 106 Inspiration, powered by 106 Live Radio. To learn more about our books and Power in Names, visit our website, www.power-in-names.com.
Download the 106 Live Radio app. Click on the headphone and choose 106 Inspiration. Your time of refreshing.
All right, we are back. We are back. You've been listening to the Male Perspective. We will on next week be talking about We Are in This Together. As we know that this October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we're going to be talking to breast cancer survivors, husband and wife team. So next week we're talking about We're in This Together. We're in this together. Our next week's topic.
And we will have on pink. So all the men will have on a pink shirt, a pink tie, something pink to represent, breast cancer awareness. We want to support what's going on with breast cancer, whether we've had someone in our family. I'm sure we know of someone that have been impacted by breast cancer. I had a good friend of mine years ago passed away from some complications from breast cancer, and it's a powerful thing. She had not only her, I think her mom had it. I think had some family members who all had died from breast cancer, and we know that breast cancer is not just something with women. It can happen.
Right.
Men could have cancer of all different types. So we want to talk about that. We want to celebrate the survivor and also provide some support to those who may be even going through that at this particular time. So we're going to talk about that next week. I want to give you a chance to get in touch with me. I'm Don E. You can reach me at D Miller at theeffect.net. That's THEEEFFECT.net. I know Ron always say when I say that to him, I need a vowel. You get a vowel. It's about the E. It's about the E. You also
Vanna White and Pat CJ looking like we ain't got that many.
It's about the E. The formula that would change your life. Also, I have a podcast called Men Making Better Decisions. So you can listen to that by going to Spotify. You can listen to Men Making Better Decisions. And again, if you concerned about therapy or just want to share if you're going through something, you can go to my website, theeffect.net.
Yeah, you can follow me at Ron Robinson on all social media outlets. You can follow me at Rev Ron Speaks on IG, Instagram, Rev Ron Speaks. You can also follow me on my YouTube channel, Your Present Moment Ministry, where you can find very transparent, Bible studies to be able to help enhance your spiritual life, give you some spiritual food, some nuggets to be able to grow and become the vessel that God has created you to become.
And next, we will have Mr. Willie LeGrand Jr. with
The Godly Perspective. Willie, I'm going to look for me a wig like Tyrone on DC Cab with some pink rollers for next week and just,
That'll work.
We know something wrong with him to come in here like that. You're going to need a session.
I'm going to put my feet up on the couch.
The Godly Perspective is a segment within our show that highlights the truth of God's Word. Can you handle the truth, guys? Here is Willie LeGrand Jr. with God's perspective on the topic today.
All right. Yeah, I do. The godly perspective is coming from Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Just playing musical chairs just for a few seconds. I'm reading from the New International Version. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not be conformed to this pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then will you be able to test and prove what God's will is and his plan and purpose. It's very interesting because we were talking about today being the change. And what happens when you change? You have to first make up your mind that there's a change that needs to occur. And when you do that, then you should start working your way toward that particular change. Being that everyone sees things differently, God wants us to see things his way. That's why we always should pray and ask for his guidance. Remember, once you call on the name of God through his son, Jesus Christ, salvation occurs. I often hear people say, well, have a relationship with God, but remember, in order to do that, to have that relationship, you have to be willing to change. And that change is recognize that he has a son named Jesus Christ, and that the only way to him, to God, is through him. Change. Very important in life. Ask God for guidance. Seek his direction. He will lead you, I promise you, in the ways in which you should go. But if you do not surrender, do not allow him to make the change through you and in you, you will remain the same, no matter how hard you try to be different. God is the one that makes the changes. We just have to surrender to him to allow the changes to be made. Have a great night.